Hello and welcome to my Odd Eyes, Magician, and Endymion combo tutorial. So something I really love about Pendulum is that every hand is always different. No hand is ever the same. Every board is different. And we end on roughly the same things almost every game, but how we get to them is always different. That's what's really fun about this deck. So there is no one card or two card basic combo. Every hand you need to look at it and you really need to think about how you're going to use it. So first we're going to start off with an absolutely broken hand. We're going to start off with activating Abductor because we want to hold spell counters. We want to use our draw cards. Get Desires, which is ridiculous, and Mastery. This hand was absolutely fucking broken. We're going to banish the Souls because we don't really need it at this point. We'd rather have the Dark Worm in our hand just in case we draw into Pendulum Call. So we Spell Power Mastery first. We're not going to add Servant, we're going to add Mighty Master because we like 7s and we already have our Abductor. We get 3 counters of Abductor. Now, I'm not actually going to instantly use Abductor because, and the reason for that is I don't really necessarily know what I need yet. And there's something I really need out of my deck to search. Now, because we don't have Pen Call, what we really need is to draw Pen Call if this desires. We drew Pen Call. It's fucking nuts, right? So we activate Pen Call here. Then Dark Worm, because we open this literally 80% of our games, if you do the math. We search Harmonizing, we search Black Fang. Normally, we would almost always search Harmonizing and Perform Pal Pendulum Sorcerer. Or not, that one's broken, but that's not in this deck. Where is him? Celestial Magician. Perform Pal Celestial Magician, this one. This card is crazy in the scale. Not only is it a high scale, but it protects our Vortex, and we get to trigger its bounce effect on our turn, which is absolutely insane. So that's normally what we search, but this time we search Black Fang because it got banished. No big deal. So we special our boy Darkworm. We add no effect because we banished the donut, which is absolutely unfortunate that happens. But now we know that we're gonna need to get our level 7 out of the deck. So we didn't banish level 7, right? Yeah, we didn't banish our level 7 Magician, so that's gonna be our playoff Harmonizing now. So we know we have access to 2 level 7s. So we add Mighty Master. Another alternate play that I think I'm gonna realize here is, yeah, I'm like, oh no, I can just search my Jackal King. So I already have 3 counters on my Abductor, so I can easily play around Nibiru now. We're gonna normal Abductor. We're gonna go for a Link, IP, and we're gonna Pendulum Summon. They can't do anything because we have counters for Nibiru. And then we special the level 7 Magician out of the deck. This is why we play it. This is our extra level 7. See, like, if we didn't play this Magician, we would have had to search the Mighty Master to go for the Vortex combo instead of being able to play around Nibiru. Bad. Odd Eyes. So here's why I'm making an interesting play that I wouldn't normally do is I don't have anything that this can be other than an Appaloosa counter, but I don't want Appaloosa yet. So I decide to use this Harmonizing Magician for a Link 3. We go into Selene. I didn't have anything in Graveyard that was going to be able to trigger the Cross Shape effect, so there was no point using it. So I'm going to summon the Vortex to this far left column. Then we're going to use Selene's effect. We're going to special the Mighty Master. And then we're going to use Dark Worm to make LP. Then we're going to go straight into Sloth. Then we're going to set Time Pendulum Grab. So effectively, we have a Monster Negate, an Omni Negate, a Spell Negate, a lock out of the extra deck. We have another special from Graveyard, but that's not really relevant because this is all we're going to get to summon. And then we're going to have a pop and ascend on our opponent's turn. So we have a ridiculous amount of interruptions here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an extra deck lock, and a special summon that's not really going to do anything, but at least it's something. And we're going to get to search any Pendulum card we want next turn as well. So this board was actually insane. Going on to the next replay. Activate Abductor. Duelist Alliance, Pendulum Call, this is all very standard. Pendulum Call is absolutely insane. It's what you're going to be searching almost every single time unless you hard draw the Pendulum Call, and that's when you can search the Time Pendulum Graph. So we're going to activate Pendulum Call. We're going to send Poison. We're going to add 2. Remember, Pendulum Call specifically says different names, so you can't grab 2 Harmonizing. I did bump up Harmonizing 2 in the list because it felt really bad whenever I had Desires away by 1. And keep in mind, we are going to be able to resolve Abductor, because putting a card in the Pendulum scale is obviously counted as a spell. So we're going to scale our best high scale in the entire deck. We're going to remove counters from Abductor, and we're going to get level 7. Now, unfortunately, we can't play around Nibiru this hand, but we do have something cheeky we can do here. In special off Pendulum, summon in. And we're not going to use Harmonizing effect, And the reason for that is because this is actually a pseudo way to play around Nibiru, because we can overlay into Absolute, and if they Nibiru us on Absolute, these will go to extra deck, and then we get a Vortex. So at least we have something on the field if we get Nibiru. It's not great. Obviously, one negate, a bounce, and then another negate is not that great, but it's fine. I'm actually dumb, don't know how to use Dueling Book, so I overlaid wrong. Go. Time Star. So here's the combo. So we're going to detach with Time Star. We're going to search Magician Souls. We're going to special it. And I was like, oh wait, there's a better play I can make. I need to add that for my graveyard. This guarantees I get something in my face-up extra deck. So I figured that was the better play. So Cross Sheep effect, special. Cross Sheep effects because Vortex is pointing to Cross Sheep. Get a Selene. Then we're gonna special off Selene. We're gonna go into here. So this board isn't crazy. It's a spell negate. It's an Omni negate. And we're gonna get a bounce on our opponent's turn and another negate with Vortex through Celestial Magician. So this board isn't crazy, but this is the kind of board that's usually good enough. Also, we have Battle Protection for our Mighty Master with Time Star, which is going to be our extra foolish. Yep, so this board is nothing crazy. This is kind of like the basic combo if you don't have like the most amazing of hands, but the fact that with the most not a very good hand, we can end on essentially 3 to 4 interruptions is pretty good. So then go on to our last replay. This is our absolute worst fucking hand we could have possibly imagined to a certain extent. We drew a bunch of Magicians that we want to search on Pendulum Call. And we have like no spells, no cards so they can hold spell counters, nothing. So this hand is not good at all. So we Pen Claw with Dark Worm, add best scale in the deck and Purple Poison. And we're gonna special the Dark Worm. And we're gonna search the Donut. And normal, and then we can go into our Link 2. Now, you don't need to do this. Technically, if you wanted to leave a card in hand, you could 100% not normal the card. You could just special and save your normal for later on, which I think I'm going to start doing more often, to be honest. So then we Pendulum Summon. And again, this is a hand where we can't play around Nibiru, which really is a shame. The other two we were able to play around Nibiru, this hand we were not. So we go into Absolute. And we go Time Star. Time Star is actually just such a good card. It's so underrated. We add Magician Souls. This time we actually mean to add Magician Souls. We dump the Jackal so we can special off Selene. Then we go into our Link play, Cross Sheep, make Vortex, and then Cross Sheep effect to special out the Purple Poison. Now, funnily enough, we actually don't have a card other than Dark Worm that's going to go to our extra deck. So yeah, this is a way to get a card. If you don't have Dark Worm and you're not going to end on the LP board, this actually definitely has come up for me, where the Cross Sheep effect is actually how I get something in the face-up extra deck for a Vortex negate. So keep that in mind. Link 2. Go to Selene. Now I messed up here. This needed to be in this zone when I specialed it. Now the reason why is because we have a Mighty Master and Graveyard that we need to special here, and our Sloth needs to go here. So I'm like, oh, okay, that was a misplay. But this is just practice, so I just moved. So we special out the Mighty Master, then we link away to an Appaloosa for 2 counters, and then the last card we're going to link into an LP, and then the LP is going to message or special into the Sloth, and here's our end board. So we have Omni Negate, we have a Spell Negate, we have 2 Monster Negates, we have Protection from Battle, which is actually relevant for both these cards, because like let's say they special Pankratops and they try to run over Sloth, they can't do that now because we have Time Star Magician on the field. We have and we have an extra deck lock, and we have a special summoning of our Vortex, which is going to trigger the bounce and negate again. So we have essentially like 6 to 7 interruptions in an extra deck lock. This deck is fucking remarkably insane, and the fact that this hand was not even that good and we were still able to do this is insane. Like, even if they Ash Blossom or Pen Call, we still have a good play here. Like, we still could have ended on 2 to 3 negates. So I think this deck is really, really good. I hope these combos showed you a little bit insight of how to play the deck and how to understand it better. Okay, and onto the deck profile, guys. I'm not going to explain too much because most of this is pretty similar to last time, but I did want to highlight a couple changes. I'm just going to go over this pretty fast. 3 Abductor, 1 Servant, 2 Mighty Master. I did say I was considering cutting down this to 1, but it's just impossible. It gets banished too. 1 gets banished too often. 1 Jackal, 3 Revolution. This card is literally going to change how Pendulum is played forever. This card is so crazy. You're never going to look at Pendulum the same way now that this card is here. We did cut the Persona. We're still running the Arc Pendulum because it is searchable with Duelist Alliance, and it's searchable with Odd Eyes Revolution, and it's a high scale. So it it's there. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily cuttable because it's a level 7 and it's a high scale, so its effect is definitely going to come up. Or not its effect, but the fact that the card is in the deck is just going to come up at some point. It already has come up for me multiple times, so this is definitely not getting cut. Persona Dragon, the low scale was definitely not coming up. It was a level 5, so it didn't have too much synergy with the deck. Oftentimes, it was either a brick in my hand or it was just going to get banished off of lure. So, not a fan of the card. I definitely cut it. We still play, obviously, the 3 Dark Worm and Gate 0. It's Heart and Soul of the Engine. Harmonizing Magician, we bumped up because I didn't want to banish my copy. I was finding too many times I was banishing a copy when I really needed it to make this, so I bumped this up to 2. We still play the 1 Purple, the 1 Black Fang, the 1 Celestial, and the 1 Dragon Pit. I think this is like the perfect ratio of non-harmonizing magician cards in the deck. I don't think I would touch this at all. I think this is absolutely perfect. I would not do anything. I would not add or take away from any of this. I looked at all the Pendulum Magicians. I tried multiple other ones like the other level 7 that's a low scale and so many other things, and I just found that these are definitely by far the best. We play 1 Sloth. This card's never brick. It can be your low scale. The card's great. The Spellbook package, self-explanatory, Magician Souls. I don't think I would bump this up, and I definitely wouldn't cut it. Pendulum Call, Duelist Alliance. Well, what are you doing if you're not playing 6 copies of Pendulum Call? Spellpower Mastery and Allure, obvious. Body Desires, obvious. Spellbook package, Upstart, all for spell counters. Time Pendulum Graph. I'm definitely not cutting this, and I'm definitely not bumping it. And I do have a solution to it in the side deck. You're probably already. I have an Time Pendulum Graph done here. So for the extra, not much has changed. We cut Astar Yuja because its effect was literally never coming up. Another card we could potentially cut is Selene. We don't actually need all 3 Selene deck, unlike Pure Endymion. 1 we always use. Sometimes we make 2 on our first turn, but it's not that often, but it definitely does come up. So I'm not sure how much I care about the 3rd, opposed to having an extra like tech card that's a rank 4. So we'll see how that goes. Cross Sheep, Unicorn, Daybreaker. I'd actually really like to cut Daybreaker for another link too, but I don't think there's better. IP, Crowley, LP, Vortex, Absolute Dragon, and Time Star. I mean, these cards are not changing. They're absolutely insane. They're perfect for this deck. And then Welcome Edition is the new adding Babushka. There are actually times where this card is a nice card just to try to stun your opponent out if you either bricked or they hand trapped you into Oblivion. Let's say you pen call your Dark Worm away, and they ash your pen call, you're like, okay, that feels really bad. And let's say you special out your Dark Worm, and then that gets impermed or whatever, you're probably having a pretty shitty hand at that point, and it's going to be hard to make anything. On a positive, all you need to do now is summon a level 4, make your Babushka, and pass. And then hopefully you have 1 or 2 cards in your hand, plus the card that you draw, to be able to pen summon from your hand and OTK them. So Babushka is just a great card to try to stun your opponent out if you get hand trapped into it. So moving on to the side deck, we still play 3 Denko, absolutely mandatory, 2 Sphere Mood, necessary. I would like to play a 3rd if I can, but I don't think there's space right now. 1 Pankratops, 3 Dark Ruler No More, and 2 Evenlies. I cut the 3rd evenly because, in my opinion, there are definitely times where I was seeing 2 Evenlies because we play so many draw cards that it felt really bad. And you don't always have access to the Magician Souls to send it, so I wanted to get rid of that. And then on top of that, I just really wanted to make space to try other things. This can definitely get bumped back up to 3. It may stay at 2. I don't know. We're still in the testing realm. It depends a lot on the Rise meta and what comes out. And you're gonna see the text at the back of the side deck. We play 1 Reboot. It's obvious for back row decks. We play 1 Time Pendulum Graph. So now that Oddies is out, there's definitely a lot of people that are gonna be playing Pendulums, and I don't know how much people are gonna be siding for Pendulums. So what I've decided to do is to play around Sphere Mode and some of these anti-Pendulum cards. The best thing that I could think of was making an IP or Time Star or making an IP Vortex, and then passing turn with a Time Pendulum Graph. That way you're playing around Sphere Mode, not Lava Golem. And you're also playing around Dark Ruler No More as well, because you're still going to have interruptions on your next turn, so they shouldn't be able to OTK you. And then you should be able to push for game going into your next turn, because you should have 3, 4, even 5 cards in your hand, because to make an IP and a Vortex is like almost no commitment on your hand, and you're still ending up with 2 to 3 interruptions on your opponent's turn. So I think that adding a second Time Pendulum Graph in, going first into game 3 was definitely valuable, and there are so many anti-Pendulum cards right now that someone could easily side that I really wanted to try this out and see how it may get cut. We'll see depending on the Rise meta. And then moving on to the last 2 cards, we play 1 Nova and 1 Mechaba. This is purely for Dragma. Honestly, I think Dragma is kind of a dog shit deck. but these are in here just to side against them. I think it's kind of funny that your opponent, if they go first, they can, you know, make you send from your extra deck. You send your Nova, and then you're gonna get the free special of Mechaba, which is gonna give you an interruption in the form of like a banish on their and a negate on their turn going first, what I think is absolutely hilarious. So again, like if Dragma turns out to be not a hard matchup in the first place, then they're just gonna get cut for the better cards. But this is just testing. I'm not really sure what's going to happen here. These are definitely subject to change, and the next time I make a replay video or deck profile, I'll definitely give some insight onto what I changed and why. But that's it. Thanks for watching. That's a deck profile, and I hope you guys learned something, and good luck at your locals or online events post Rise of the Duelist.